I never believed in the supernatural.
Not really.
I always thought those stories were for kids or for people who needed an excuse for weird things. But what happened to my family and me? Well, it changed everything. And I still can't explain it. We moved to a small town in rural Oregon when my youngest daughter was just 4. My wife and I had wanted a quiet life, away from the noise of the city, and this house seemed perfect. It was old, yes, and a little creaky, but charming. A place where our kids could run outside and we could finally breathe. At least that's what we thought. The first week was uneventful. Boxes everywhere, neighbors waving hello, and the kids exploring every corner of the yard. There was an old shed at the back, but I never paid it much attention. Just an old structure falling apart, probably full of spiders and dust. But on the second night, something small made me uneasy. I woke up around 2 in the morning to a sound like whispering coming from the hallway. At first, I thought it was my daughter, but she slept soundly in her room. I chalked it up to the wind or the house settling. Then it started happening more often. Soft footsteps outside the rooms, doors that I remembered locking left slightly ajar, and fleeting glimpses of shadows moving just beyond my line of sight. I told myself it was paranoia. After all, we were in a new place. My wife laughed it off, saying I was imagining things. But one night, as I walked past the living room, I noticed something on the wall. It wasn't the usual cracks or marks that old houses have. No, these were scratch marks, small and precise, like someone, or something, was tapping at the walls from the inside. My blood ran cold. A week later, my daughter started talking about a man in the corner of her room. I told myself not to worry. She was 4. Kids have vivid imaginations. But she would cry at night, saying he watches her, that he moves when I'm not looking. Then one evening, my oldest son told me something chilling. He said he had seen the man standing outside the window at the back of the house. I tried to rationalize it, maybe a neighbor playing a prank. But no one lived close enough to do that. And the strange part? Whenever the children mentioned him, my wife and I felt watched. Not by each other, but by something else entirely. By the 3rd week, things escalated. Objects moved. Not just small things, things that required effort. Chairs were in different rooms, kitchen utensils misplaced. Sometimes the TV would turn on by itself late at night, static filling the screen. I started sleeping with the lights on. My wife refused, said we couldn't live in fear. But one night I saw him. Or it. I woke up to a figure standing at the foot of our bed. Tall, featureless in the darkness, but unmistakably there. My heart froze. I couldn't breathe. I blinked and it was gone. My wife, of course, was asleep, completely unaware. We decided to leave for a weekend, hoping distance would help. But even then, the presence seemed to follow. At a motel, our daughter refused to sleep. She said the man came with us. When we returned, I found the old shed door open, even though I had locked it. Inside, on the dusty floor, were small handprints. Not my children's. Tiny, human-like, but too elongated, almost claw-like. And above them, faint scratches forming lines I couldn't comprehend. We called a local historian who told us the property had a reputation. The previous owners had reported similar events. None of them stayed long. Some left in the middle of the night, terrified. Some never came back at all. I wanted to laugh, but deep down I knew he was real. Or it was. The final night was the worst. I woke up to my daughter screaming. I rushed in and saw the figure standing over her crib. But then it turned its head slowly toward me. I froze. I couldn't move. I could feel its eyes, even though it had no face, burning into me, and then it whispered. I didn't hear words, just a chilling sense of dread, as if it knew every fear I had ever had. The next morning, the scratches were gone. The handprints were gone. But we never stayed another night. We packed, left the house, and never looked back. I tell this story not for attention. I tell it because it happened. And sometimes late at night I wonder, did we ever really leave? Because some nights when I close my eyes, I can still feel him watching. So if you ever find yourself in a quiet house in a small town, alone with your family, listen closely. Because you never know what's standing just beyond your vision, waiting for the lights to go out.